Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar&Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As per usual, I'm joined by my co-host Sam, and we're back with another episode of the Progressive World, a midweek edition again. So it's slightly shorter than the ones that we do towards the weekends. So our first story is going to be on Kyle Rittenhouse, and there are a bunch of different angles to, analyze and different articles and videos that have been made. Brianna made a brilliant one on Bad Faith channel just last night. So we're going to talk about that one. Matt Taibbi wrote an article. And yeah, so the first story is really all about Kyle Rittenhouse. Then we're going to have our geopolitical briefs, which I think Sam can just give a quick overview.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to have some tiny updates regarding the geopolitical situation around the world, something to do with Iran, some stuff about Saudi Arabia, Israel, some stuff about Africa, which I kind of wanted to follow up our stuff on Sudan and Ethiopia and stuff. So, and some other stuff, but I hope with fun, I'm shifting geopolitics brief towards a more comedy segment because I think geopolitics deserve to be treated as a comedy, really.
Okay.
Not
all
even
right.
a high-end comedy, like very Benny Hill slapstick.
I see. All right. Great stuff. And then we're just going to, well, that's it pretty much. After that, we're going to discuss some progressive tweets, and that'll be pretty much it. So, Sam, should we get right into it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And please like and subscribe if you've been watching us for a while. About half of our regular viewers aren't subscribed. So if you're one of them, please do. But all right, Sam, let's jump right into this Kyle Rittenhouse story, issue, whatever you want to call it. So here are the different videos that we're going to be discussing. So the one that yesterday, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, article, other material.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. I'll just give a quick rundown of what they are. So one that we're probably going to talk a lot about, I really enjoyed this one. Brianna only posted the first half of it on her YouTube channel, which is a conversation with Zaid Jilani and Irami Osei Frimpong. That is going to be one of the main ones. TYT had a few sections, which varied from okay to garbage.
Well, let's leave the commentary for
Matt Taibbi wrote an article he just published a few days ago entitled "The Rittenhouse Verdict is Only Shocking If You Followed the Last Year of Terrible Reporting." And yeah, I think these are some of the main points. Useful idiots had as well.
Breaking points, not breaking points. The
Hill rising.
The Hill.
Yeah, the Hill rising with Ryan Grimm. So I think those are pretty much all the videos.
Yeah, Robbie Swaff. Yeah.
Okay, I think those are all the videos. But Sam, so my first question for you is: you weren't too much into this story, just about until last week, really. So what kind of changed everything for you?
No, it wasn't that I am still not into this story. And I recall somebody commented on our video that it's understandable that you guys don't want to talk about it because left has a problem discussing these issues. And it came from somebody who seems to be a regular viewer, even though he doesn't really, or she doesn't really agree with us, which is quite nice. I like that we have a viewer that doesn't agree with us. But no, it's just I didn't know. That was I really didn't know what happened. And it was a legal case. So, when you don't know, when you just hear like two people randomly talking about it, I am very hesitant to comment on. I'm much. It's easier to get a comment from me on like general, trends. But when it gets really specific, I'm a bit of a scaredy cat to comment because I'm worried that it might like ruin my credibility or something. So which I don't have any.
Yeah, I was gonna say what credibility.
Yeah, exactly. I did non-existent imaginary. So, but no, and in my view, still the there are like two big issues, which sadly probably we won't discuss much, because the media attention. Well, one is that first of all, the failures of a state structure. That's the biggest issue there, in my view, that allows for riots and these type of things to escalate to this level. Uh, Gun laws, police funding, all of that.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to talk about gun laws quite a bit.
Hopefully, to annex, or So just that's like if as social scientists or whatever, that should have been the focus, because I'm not a lawyer for one team or the other, so I don't know the details. So I think I should focus on that. Secondly, I think it was like, I'll get into it more, but I think it was just media media has become a complete circus at this point, which is like they basically try to fan hatred and what do you say, bipolarity, I don't know, just pitting people against each other. So I think those were the two main things from where I'm standing, because I just don't like, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know. So that's why I didn't want to comment. But then there was a lot of great content online about it, and literally no other news in the progressive world. So nice.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't watch mainstream media in that sense, so I guess we hadn't seen all the crap that they were saying about him before the trial and everything. So we weren't even following that. But I mean, yeah, this story was just like the perfect, like I mentioned last time, like brought everything together. I mean, the media were so off with their analysis and all the narratives that they were pushing from the beginning. Just everything. It was just like a perfect storm that led to this story.
Yeah. Do you think just why I think we agree there that media, we agree with pretty much Matt Taibbi, and to a lesser extent, I would say Glenn Greenwald, that media completely tried to racialize the issue, even though it wasn't necessarily racialized. Yeah, we agree there, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, even now they continue to wanting to kind of do so. I mean, when you hear about some tweets and people commenting about after, they still continue to do so.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, more so after the verdict, probably. But, okay, do you think, like that was the question that came to my head, that do you think it was on purpose that they're trying to, whip up their base, like their audience? Or do you think it was this sort of tunnel vision that, when you have an ideology that you look for, okay, there was a white man with a gun, he must have killed like black people, or he, like, which one do you think was more? Because I think it was the former, like it was very cynical. I think I don't know, that's the impression I get, especially after reading Matt Taibbi's article.
So wait, you mean so it was more the latter, you mean, not the former? So
the first one.
That which is that they just had tunnel vision and they just covered it like this?
No. The first one, they cynically, I think cynically journalists tried, just, for example, did not mention that victims happen to be also white, did not mention the fact that, for example, there was like a gunshot heard right before when he wasn't facing, I'm not saying I wasn't there, I have no judgment whatsoever, because the video doesn't start 30 minutes before the incident or anything like that. But there are many different facts that could have been mentioned that would have framed the story differently. But in the beginning, those facts were just basically not mentioned. Again, maybe they had tunnel vision. I think it was more cynically.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of both. I mean, they want to present stuff that gets their base and their viewers rattled up as much as possible, and that they're so like flimsy in their journalistic like approach and everything. So maybe some of the evidence or some of the things that were already out there and that they could have known and should have known, if they're going to talk about it so much, they either just ignored it or they're just so not interested to even finding out because it doesn't go with their ideology and narrative. But I don't know if they were like cynical more than they usually are. Or I mean, yeah, use the word cynical, or like, yeah, I mean, just, yeah, I don't know if it was like beyond what they usually do of trying to put stories into a certain narrative.
WMD, like they invaded nations. But no, I'm not saying it's more cynical than that. But I was just, Matt Taibbi argues that they were like, through this type of journalism, they are setting up their audience for disappointment. And I think that was the purpose. Like, it's an emotional roller coaster. Yeah, you take them up and then you bring them down. And I don't know, I just think that's the I feel sometimes maybe I'm becoming a bit too too much of reading too much into things. Maybe it's much simpler than that. They're just a bunch of idiots. But
it possibly turned into that, especially because I think when they started realizing that things are shifting, people are finding out more about this, like a bunch of things that we said seem to be completely not true, and then after that they just had to keep on going with it. And Matt Taibbi mentions they try to already build in excuses, right? So yeah, the system will never find this kind of person guilty and all that. So I think they kind of shift their strategy halfway through, because I mean so much of the information, evidence that was coming out was completely against or to counter what they had thought and what they were spreading until then.
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess the case of Young Turks is a fun one, because I think whatever
let's talk about Young
general
Turks
thing. Yeah, their case was a case of an idiotic just coverage I think rather than a cynical one.
At first it was,
I mean, the level of incompetence.
But I like going through the steps because it changes, right? And it's still like going. So originally, I think Anna would just like, especially because Anna apparently covered it a few times. So she just assumed in her head, yeah, this guy went there, Black Lives Matter, there were Black people there, so he shot 3 people, and you hear this in the media, and they go with it. And then
I think she followed the general view that was expressed in mainstream.
And then I think after that, and then she became one of the better ones, because Cenk and John Arioli, especially John Arioli, now sorry, I say his last name wrong. Can you just say his last name correctly once so people know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I can't. John Idaroha. I've been following the Young Turks since many years ago, and I've never been able to pronounce his name. John Idaroha, the guy who went to Arctics. But look, just to make it clear, Anna did a correction even to add for example, some of the facts that were not mentioned in I referred to. She mentioned those, and she did a pretty good job of reporting the second time around. Anyway, did a correction.
Yeah, but the John guy is just. And in this video that we just watched, I'll play some footage of it right now, hopefully, so people can see. But right. There's Cenk in it, there's John in it, and there's just another lady that they parachuted into this
another
segment.
Organ donor.
Yeah. maybe they said who that person is, on their full live version or something. But yeah, she was just suddenly there too as a host giving her opinion. And John Arioli, he's going just the way of the mainstream media. So he's okay, forget about the facts and what happened in that case. Let's talk about what precedent it's setting and all this. So he's just not letting it go. He's trying to hang on as much as possible to the original narrative that was really built up around this story. So he I mean, yeah, no sympathy for him really there.
Can we just discuss the video as a comedy first, and then I'll get into because I have some sympathy with Mr. Idaho, I don't know.
With Oriola, really?
Idaho, with Mr.
Interesting.
Idaho. I have some sympathy, some very, very limited. But I would say this show Cenk trying to navigate the legal grounds.
Yeah.
Look, guys, this is so in some states the onus is on the person who's self-defense. Like it was so funny, like him trying to like be very clear about it. And then at the end of the video, did you see he just suddenly lost it on the mother and the right
wing? Oh my god, it's like the worst mother ever.
Which, by the way, I kind of agree, but just the level of vitriol, and he's just the and
I was gonna mention the skate. I think Cenk in the beginning of that video probably said his biggest lie ever.
The second guy hit him with a skateboard. Now, I wouldn't kill anyone if they hit me with a skateboard, but I know the right wing. They're very fragile, very weak.
So I'm not quoting him here, but he either said that if I was hit by a skateboard, I wouldn't overreact or I wouldn't kill him. I wouldn't kill him, no. Which, I mean, based on what I've seen from Cenk so far, the way he gets pissed off, he talked about he was a fighter his whole life in the tweet towards Joe Rogan and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, if Cenk gets hit by a skateboard, there's going to be hell to pay for it. Maybe he won't have a gun to shoot you after, but he will come after you and try to fight you. Based on what I've seen, I think that was probably one of the bigger lies
I don't know,
he's ever said.
The dog that barks, So, anyways, yeah, it was just such a funny video, though. I feel like they missed I feel like, because I think there is a major racial issue in the USA and across the world, but because of the chattel slavery that was very recently experienced in the US, it's more prominent there, right? And I think by using this case, which has, in my view, very, very tenuous and limited connections to the racial issues and racial structures and blah, 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 it's a very shitty hill to die on, and I don't understand why they are connecting it, because I think it's just ludicrous for a modern civilized state to allow under 18s to run around with assault rifles legally. But that has nothing to do with racial issues. And I don't understand, why are you meddling this? So left can be, it's like on purpose, you're making a case for the rights that the left is always trying to make everything about race and identity.
Yeah, and even after the case, they still want to go with that narrative, right? They don't want to let it go, and I mean, it's a really
disgusting ways. I found this personally disgusting. ACLU tweeted that despite Kyle Rittenhouse's conscious decision to travel across the state lines and injure one person and take the lives of blah, 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 right? Across the state lines was something that was used against slaves that ran away and against people who did interracial marriages. That's what it was used for. And now ACLU is using that to and by the way, I believe his house was 1 mile.
Yeah, they made it seem like, exactly. They made it seem like,
and correct?
Yeah. And the thing is, he was even there and he was visiting people, and his dad is apparently from there and everything. Yeah. I mean, they made it, because they wanted to build this whole narrative that, this guy came from who knows where, from so far away across state lines with his gun here to come here with the intention of killing people. But even after you find out that that's not even the case, the guy was there and everything, and he was so close, so that it just doesn't even help with the narrative at all. But yeah, they're still sticking to that. That's what's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But the sympathy I have for John is that when he says that we should be allowed to, I hate it when both people on the left and the right does that. Sometimes when, it's the law. It's the law, For example, left usually does it regarding language. For example, you shouldn't say that word. That word is not allowed. That's the law. And the right does it with this type of self-defense type of thing. I do think, yeah, there is like the major issue that here should be discussed is the fact that 17-year-olds are allowed to carry rifles.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically they
across
aren't.
the state or not.
Yeah, I mean, technically they aren't.
Because he's apparently below a certain size they are. That's why the misdemeanor charge was dismissed, right? Because the gun was below a certain size, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that part. But the thing is, like, the reason I say that is that he wasn't keeping the gun at his house, right? That was part of the thing. His dad's friend.
Oh, somebody gave it.
His dad's friend was keeping it for him, and under the laws of that state, he was allowed to go and see the dad's friend, and he can train him how to use the gun and everything until
what the hell?
Until he reached the age of 18.
You see it. Again, you see, that's why I hate this specific.
But cases. I mean,
was his dad's friend like a professional gun training person? What the goddamn hell is going on?
I mean, sure, like, that's fine, but I find it. But all these things like John Arioli and stuff, he makes it seem like he's just learning all these things like based on this case. I mean, I can't. Yeah, there's so many of these that happen and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like these have all existed. Yeah, the gun laws and everything in this country are definitely a problem for a lot of people. But again, I mean, in that court and everything, they should have judged them on the way that the law is and stuff. But yeah, after separately, if you want to have a discussion about the law, yeah, that's fine.
Exactly. No, yeah, and I understand, and that's why probably this is a good segue to the Bad Faith podcast, which had a much better discussion, but much more substantive discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that there was a point to his. I hate when people, both on the left and the right, or north or the south, they say that, oh, it's the law, or it's the, because I remember I had a close friend of mine one time about like, apparently, I don't know if this is still the case in the UK, if there was like you found something of an ancient thing under your house, like archaeological value of some sort, you had to pay for the government to come and like clean it and take it out. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Why should I? And then he was like, oh, it's the law. No, it's the law. And I just hate since I was pretty much 18. So it's been with me for 14 years.
I mean, just because it's the law, I think you're trying to say it doesn't mean that it's a good or bad thing just because something is the law.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, exactly. You can't, it's not a conversation in there.
Exactly. I mean, the person needs to acknowledge it. Yeah, I mean, you acknowledge, okay, fine, and this is the law, I understand, so this is what should happen. Yeah, if this thing happened, but like, if let's have a more general conversation now. Is this a good law or bad law? Why are you taking it that way? That I understand.
Yeah, and the worst part is connecting it to the racial issue, because it had, in my view, and again, good segue to the Bad Faith podcast. So you asked me of my views before the show, but I didn't ask yours because I'm a, narcissist. So what did you think of the conversation?
Of the Brianna one? Yeah, I thought in this one, like, Brianna kind of redeemed herself, because the previous one with the lawyer that she had, I really didn't enjoy it. And she had like one or two kind of like sketchy videos recently of no fault of her own. Of course, you can't just book one good interview after another. It's not her fault that that economist came on and rambled for no reason. But this one was really great, and it was very civil, yet extremely explicit and nuanced. So that I really enjoyed, because I mean, the Zaid Jilani guy, he's a friend of Breaking Points and all that, right? He used to show up on the Hill all the time.
I believe he's an editor or one of the contributors to The Spectator, and he's one of the people who moved with Glenn Greenwald to the Rumble. And I would say, like, I personally really like his work. He used to write for Intercept. I don't know if he still does. He's very, in my view, he's very good
No,
reporter.
I thought he
I'm
was
not
great
sure.
here. And and he was nuanced and he wasn't afraid to say like, I don't agree at all with what you're saying, Irami, considering about like this part, but fine, yes, I do agree a little bit here. And one part he
Should
also
be,
like he kind of he didn't let Brie go along with her assumptions. I do that sometimes too. Like you throw in an example there and the other person doesn't agree, and you're like, okay, fine, forget about that example. I'm trying to say this or that, where you're like, no, but I don't
yeah,
agree with this premise and example, so we can't move on.
exactly. So shall we outline, because this, like, their, I think their positions is worth outlining to an extent, or
Yeah.
So yeah. Do you want to summarize any of
I'll
their
say like the
positions?
main one. I think the main one is that Zaid Jilani, he's saying this is a pure like gun problem in the country. If there weren't this many guns and he didn't have a gun and stuff, none of this would have happened. And
he says case by case,
yeah.
But if there is a structural or sort of a trend run through, it's the gun and mental health issue.
Yeah, that was his point. And whereas Irami was like, no, this is like about racism and this type of
settler colonialism.
Yeah, so I would say those were kind of their two main positions. Anything else on the Irami one that you want to elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, he talked about this is about fetishizing property that is rooted in settler colonialism, and he connects it to January 6th what do you call them, insurrections, riots at the Capitol, and to Dylan something, some racist guy who killed some people, I believe. He connects them to a couple of cases that I think, I haven't looked into those cases specifically, but I think were racially motivated. And look, I thought it was interesting. I don't agree with you that it was actually as good, to be honest. I found, I mean, like, just I'm giving a subjective view. This is not some fucking judgment or anything. But I found Brie was way, in my opinion, Brianna Greyjoy was way too nice to Irami and way too harsh to Zaid Jilani, because Irami, in my view, was making completely racist and nonsensical arguments. And
can you think of
view,
do you have an example of one of those in your head by any chance?
Yeah, because I mean, not a specific example, but I think Zaid Jilani was right that his argument was pretty much that violence committed by white people is always racially motivated, even in a case where there are no black specifically victims. Although the protest was I don't want to undermine that the protest did start as a BLM, and I'll get back to that as a like we discussed the Ryan Grim video. So in my view, this idea that or settler colonialism has, or even if it's not racial, if it's a historical thing, that settler colonialism has somehow inserted this thing inside white people that, I don't know, did you get a different impression of his arguments? Maybe I'm straw manning him. I apologize if that's the case, but I felt like Zaid Jilani was right. It was basically was saying white people's crimes are largely because they are racist settler colonialists.
Yeah, no, I think that was pretty much what he was saying. I mean, what else did he say around that too? Because he added some more stuff, and Zaid Jilani didn't quite disagree with that. He was like, I agree with that. But
no, he said that we have a national problem. And that's the thing. I looked into him. He's a political philosophy expert. His studies are political philosophy. And I think that, I mean, full disclosure, I goddamn hate philosophy. It's just like, I think it's the most useless, like pretty much like the modern philosophy specifically. It's the most useless, and people who study it are anyway. So I think these people are good for like sitting in a room and writing books about ideas, but like he can't separate his ideas from this specific case. And yes, he's right. We have like there is a national problem of racism in US, as there is in most other countries. Yeah. Again, in the US is more prominent because of certain things, right? In some other countries, religious differences are more prominent, right? But his mind is just so focused on this political, ideological, like philosophers always, like, I think mostly philosophers, they are all pretty much Platonists, and they all love metaphysics and all that. So they can't separate a case that is, and it's damaging to the whole goddamn movement. I mean, if there is a movement, I'm talking as if there is an organized left wing. But so yeah, I think he's just. But yeah, Zaid Jilani agrees with him that there is a national problem, but in this case has nothing to do with that national problem.
Yeah,
the one that he's talking about, the racial one.
Yeah, no, 100%. And exactly, anybody that like want to have that kind of movement, anybody, or it has small or big, or the movement's not effective, and they want to have one to address racism, I think, yeah, exactly. Interjecting it into this case this much, and it all just proves to be so not true, is just definitely not helpful. I mean, apparently this is what Cori Bush said. Hold on, let me read this. I mean, I think it supports a little bit but what I just said, but it was just crazy. Let me read this from the Matt Taibbi article. Congresswoman Cori Bush even tweeted about how the judge, the jury, and the defendant collectively exhibited white supremacy in action, even though the Rittenhouse jury wasn't all white. So Matt Taibbi added that. So yeah, trying to inject these kind of issues into this story is really not helpful at all, I would imagine, if anybody wants to address them properly, because they don't stand, the evidence doesn't support it.
It is again, it is helpful if you're focusing on clicks or views or anyways. It does feel to me very cynical. And well,
the only way, if you're going to be
highlight, like if you recall, my favorite interview of Bad Faith was with Thomas Chatterton, and I feel like Brianna, I mean, you said it perfectly. I think like sometimes we don't agree with your assumptions, like it was the same thing with the Elizabeth Warren and the Indian heritage thing that they talked about with Thomas Chatterton, that Brianna was like, I wouldn't feel comfortable like claiming Indian heritage to claim a thing. And Thomas Chatterton was like, I don't feel comfortable having a special place for like a socially constructed identity at universities, And with Zaid Jilani, again, Zaid Jilani keeps saying like, I don't agree with your premise. I don't agree, as he says, with the thesis. And they kept saying, no, but imagine if it was like, okay, I can't. I'm sorry, but this is not what I can. Anyways, I found that to be really annoying, that the guy who was, in my view, expressing quite racist and racist in a like childish way, though, not in a harmful way. Like he was being treated with such like kitty gloves things, and then Zaid Jilani was like, oh, please let us ask you a question, anyways. I
thought Brianna, until like in this half an hour segment that you put, especially in the first half, she was very much trying to try to get Zaid Jilani to answer to like the arguments that Irami was making. But then after, when he pushed back a bit, I feel like she stopped doing that a little bit and became a bit more balanced.
And by the way, Zaid Jilani, I have obviously utmost respect for all these people and all that, but and even he's far more educated than I am and all that. So whatever. But I do think like sometimes we need to be a bit more like, why do you need to point out your points of agreement with him? Don't. Just be a bit more harsh. Like these people need to be put down a bit. Like, no, this is idiotic. This is like reverse racism. Like this is like the people who are happy at some white people being added to the no-flight list in the US. Like the problem with no-flight list is that they exist. It's not that only Muslims are there, and now we have to add white people and some black people and some Latino people to balance the goddamn thing. Like,
and with this, people kept on doing this too. They were like, he wouldn't receive this treatment if it was black. But okay, sure, maybe. Sure. But what, do you want him to also? Right. Do you want? Two rights don't make a wrong.
To suffer too.
Exactly. Two rights don't make a wrong. So the fact that the fact that someone else might have been treated differently does not mean that we shouldn't treat him correctly.
So let's treat everybody like they're third classes.
Equality
for all.
Yeah, and people don't want to. I mean, I was just thinking a bit of John Arioli. He kind of came back to my mind again from TYT. He was saying two things. Like one was the precedent thing that, it's as if he had never heard of this whole problem in the US with self-defense and all this. And he overblew it that, okay, now that he got away with this, now everybody knows that they can do this. And he didn't get away with anything. I mean, if you frame it that way, it's because you're still refusing to accept the facts that have come out and are so widespread. And then the second thing that he really wanted to do was okay, in a case of law, you focus on specific things, but he wanted to, okay, fine, if he wasn't found guilty on this, on that, let's just examine his whole life in the past 17 years. We'll just put all of the US history of racism and all this on this kid's shoulder. So he just wanted to keep on expanding it, just finding more and more reasons to, say okay, even if the courts found this, even if he didn't kill Black people, it's still this and that. So, I mean, that's just not how court of law works or anything, and that was really pissing me off about his narrative and the points he was making.
Yeah, I think he was. He seemed like a kid. Yeah, just found out about racism or something. God damn it! Can you believe this? I agree with you completely there. Don't know what to add.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about and add here?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Ryan Grimm, Matt Taibbi things. Okay, that's I think even besides the media thing, because that's like the secondary, but that's the real goddamn story, I think, in the midst of all this, if there is a story, is the fact that it seems, this is to reporting by Ryan Grimm and Matt Taibbi, I couldn't find a written source. I only found the video, I Googled a bit, but I couldn't find the written source except Wikipedia, which is whatever. But it does seem that there were peaceful protests, Black Lives Matter, regarding the shooting of a Black man by the police. It seems then there was a group, then police actually, and the mayor, municipality, I suppose, authorities and all that, they started sort of, in a way, in my view, from what I read and from what was described by Ryan Grimm and Matt Taibbi, they started sort of escalating the situation, sort of a state of emergency, curfew type of thing, even inviting militia forces to the city to protect firefighters and factories, even though the protests were, according to all reports, were all peaceful. Then they even started directing protests, because
that's crazy.
And militiamen, and I'm not sure about the police officer, militiamen, to the same places, basically setting, and as we all know, most protests are infiltrated with number of saboteurs, just common tactic by the police. So, you just throw a stone and then the violence sort of snowballs from there. And besides that, Matt Taibbi mentions that, again, I couldn't find a written source for this, that the police officers may have actually pulled back, which is again a very common tactic all around the world, that like authorities give a signal to the police officers and they sort of pull back. It happens in like Iran, like half of Iranian coup d'etats happen like that. That there is a signal to the police, guys, just look the other way. Let the thugs, And so I completely can see it happen. I have no evidence. I am literally mentioning my sources and all that. So and I'm so I have no evidence for any of this, but I do think it might be. So that's the real issue, that authorities either are incapable or actively are working against social harmony within communities. And then you get to the bigger questions, in my view, which why assault rifles are allowed in a modern country. Live like in most countries, a knife longer than 3 inches is not allowed to be carried.
But I mean, like, I don't go crazy on the gun thing and stuff, because I mean, I found out about this in the US, I don't know, however many years ago. So I mean, this is what it is. I mean, seen people do crazier stuff or walk around with even crazier stuff than he did. So a kid pretty much holding, it's not a machine gun, but whatever an AR-15 is, like, to me in the US context, I was like, man, I wasn't even shocked almost. I know I'm not saying that you were shocked, but yeah, that is the main issue at hand.
I was.
Oh, you were, yeah. No, I was just like,
I was shocked in it. I thought you. I mean, I think I got it. I may have reversed it in my head, but I thought you had to. Is it? Oh, you're not allowed to have a concealed weapon. You're allowed to have a. It's so stupid.
They vary from state to state.
Like, I thought you're not allowed to. I just thought you're not allowed to, like, openly, because I thought it would be threatening.
No, I think in some states in the US you can literally have
some states,
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, that's how it is, and we have to talk about the different states, because in California and New York, but I mean, and a lot of other ones, I believe, including Texas, I mean, you can walk around with your gun just showing to everybody, and
okay, I was, to be fair, I was stupid on that. No. I've seen American TV shows enough to know, but I was shocked. I suppose because even in American TV shows, even though like they may acknowledge like the legal dramas and shit, they don't show it. You don't see. I don't know. Maybe because they're so focused on East and West Coast. Shows you my source of information for.
No, but like the gun situation
it wasn't
in the US.
Game of Thrones. I didn't see any guns in Game of Thrones being carried openly, so I don't think it's very common.
I mean, guns are very strange, and they're perceived in such a strange way in the US. I mean, I always found that because, I was, my family and stuff, they weren't huge hunters, but actually had some, like my aunts, like husbands and stuff, they were huge into hunting and stuff. But I never heard them talk, in this narrative of let's have guns to, protect ourselves, and we have to go and protect ourselves. So the whole way that they perceive guns in the US, whenever I think about it, it is insane, and it is insanely strange. But this was just something that wasn't brought up to me through this case, because I'm just so used to it. But yeah, the way that they perceive guns and how they think it will help them against the government and all these different narratives that they have, I do find them insanely crazy, but it's just how it is, and not new, really.
Yeah, and to be honest, I am very much, in fact, in favor of actually gun regulation and access in rural areas, because I knew farmers who needed guns to protect from thieves or rabid dogs, that type of things in the countryside. So especially in the rural areas where you have a house and then like surrounded by land, it's completely makes sense. I don't want to dismiss all of that, but I would say hunting, in my view, is just I must say I find hunting to be so, I don't know, I find it so pathetic. Like this, like, oh, they go from like 30 miles away from the animal with a with a gun like that and stuff, and oh no, this is real hunt. We are like in real. Oh, fuck off!
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
unless you're wrestling the goddamn deer to the ground, you're not hunting. Okay,
yeah.
just
Oh, as a vegan, I
chill
couldn't.
out. Oh,
Yeah,
this
I
is
couldn't agree with you
oh,
more.
no, it's just because they
Uh,
pretend if you kill, then you eat it. It's just more. Oh, I did it.
yeah, no.
Fuck off.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
I hate
exactly.
it.
So manly. Like the person who mentions this can't like
Yeah,
walk 5 meters half
hidden
the
with
time.
camouflage.
Yeah. And he's like hiding, yeah, exactly. Drives his car and all this, built for this and that, all the way there with this and gun. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, that.
when I was a child, I went to a duck hunting thing, and they use like tricks to lure the ducks
Yeah,
with
yeah.
noise. And Jesus Christ, having a gun is not enough.
Yeah. But you see exactly, but in the US, I mean, they just take it insanely far, right? Because like the example that you gave with farmers and all that, you could just have, you don't also need crazy guns or handguns and all this. So like in some countries, like handguns are completely, illegal in all situations, because if you're a farmer or something, you can protect yourself with a shotgun. There doesn't need to be a handgun or this kind of gun or that kind of gun, and the number that you can have them and how easy it is to buy in the States. But yeah, I mean, this is something that, and we've seen much more horrific, far more horrific. I mean, I wish these three people hadn't passed away, but much more horrific things in the US due to guns, such as, kids grabbing a gun from their parents' house and just going and killing 30 other little kids. So, I mean, we've seen much more horrendous things happen because of the US gun laws.
And besides gun, by the way, I just like to point out something that refers back to our conversations from our previous episodes. Somebody committed a horrific crime with a car just yesterday, I believe, ran through number of people. So, it's not just guns. You can commit thing.
Yeah.
And I would add also that I remember this from like 15 years ago, that we have technologies that allows guns not to be shot without a fingerprint recognition system. And I don't know, like that can be just government makes a law tomorrow that's all guns must have that.
Yeah. But I mean, the US, the idea, and like, besides like the laws that are there to support you having guns in such ways, the ideology there too is so strong behind it. So I mean,
I don't know. I don't believe in. I think if there is a political will, ideology can. I don't know. I never believe. It's like
you can work on those ideologies, but I mean,
let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like this analogy may sound stupid, but in Middle East, everybody's like, oh, everybody drives like crazy because they don't have the culture. No, everybody drives crazy because they never get fined by the cops. In Europe, you're constantly fined, right? So I don't know if the ideology is too strong. If there is political will, they can do it. I think,
yeah.
right?
No, I'm saying you can do it, but the ideology is there. Like in Iran, in Iran and anywhere that this just example that you gave, there's no ideology.
Driving.
Yeah, there's no like, let's drive like crazy in this or that way. Yeah, it happens because of the way the situation is, and maybe some ideology there too. But in the US too, there is the situation, but there's also the ideology, of just thinking in so many places around the world, just the thought of having a gun at your house to protect yourself, that is already, it's like kind of like, it doesn't really sit well with people.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I think you should be allowed guns in your house. It's just not in cities.
Yeah, things can vary from one sector to another, but the gun situation in the US is there, and we've heard much crazier things and seen much crazier things happen due to the gun laws there.
Sure. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that, that was the real story, I guess, the police stuff and the authorities. They are the, at least for
the
me,
police
anyway,
stuff.
I'm not a lawyer.
And just the refusal by some people to just to keep on adding their narrative on top of things, even when the facts come out. I mean, that is a bit.
It's like,
too.
I used to be like that. Like, like when I loved the TV show, anybody would mention anything about anything, like, oh, this a pastry, like eclair. This is a really good eclair. Oh yeah, in a Game of Thrones, they had an eclair that was just like, it's kind of like that. It's so
Yeah.
annoying that, like adding race to something that has nothing to do with. But then again, they got clicks out of it, so I'm sure they are very happy.
Yeah, no, I mean, this
And we
story.
might get some clicks out of it.
We shall see. But okay, Sam, anything else that we forgot to talk about or mention here?
No, I think yeah, on this topic we covered it all.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that just came to my mind, and this is insanely funny, but Glenn Greenwald did a video and he pointed out how the Brazilian media, even until recently, and he called them a very reputable ones with good reporters. Now I'm kind of dubious. They had completely framed it after that the court's going on and every court case going on. Everybody knows in the US that it wasn't, even in the US mainstream media, it was corrected to a large extent that it's not that they didn't kill 3 black people but 3 white people. But apparently this reputable news organization in Brazil still went with the headline, just very basically stating white guy kills 3 black people and just having there, which is
yeah. And I by the way, I like that he pointed out that American politics is international politics in a way that, everybody around the world, it seems, in Brazil to Middle East to Europe, they talk about American politics because of globalized media. It's like, we are all involved in a way, which of course we are all not involved. And, it was fascinating. Interesting video by the way. Glenn Greenwald, he's very harsh on, doesn't suffer fools gladly, does he? Like, you have to do your research about this case. So.
yeah, but I do agree with him in some of those cases. But okay, I don't have anything else to add really to this story. And folks, if we've missed out some important angles and everything, because this is really one of those issues, I'm pretty sure 90% of the viewers out there know more about the facts, about the case and everything. So point them out, please, and we'd love to come back to them if that's the case.
Or like, the structural stuff, I love to come back to more, but...
All right, Sam, so let's move on to our geopolitical briefs section. So why don't you get us started?
Sure, yeah. A much more relaxed version of our briefs that is accompanying our weekly shows now. So let's start with Iran. There was a bit of a development regarding the nuclear talks. The head of IAEA, Rafael Grossi, came to Iran just before the negotiations regarding the Iranian nuclear deal is set to restart in Vienna, I believe. He expressed, as he arrived, hope that some of the activities of the agency can be revived, and the cooperation between Iran and the agency can be revived. And the Iranian authority, the spokesperson for the agency, for the Iranian Atomic Agency, he was emphasizing how the sabotages that has happened in Iran has damaged the relationship between IAEA and Iran, which is basically referring to the explosions, assassinations, and stuff, kind of implying that IAEA may have had a hand in the leaking of information and stuff like that. He's still, I believe, here as we record this, so who knows. But things seem to be going smoothly. At the same time, you had the Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz, I believe it's still Benny Gantz. I'm not sure who it is right now. But he or she accused Iran of building up and attacking from its southern islands, Qeshm and Kish, which are free trade zones. It's kind of Iranian Florida, basically. with all its negative implications. So, yeah, Qeshm is a bigger island. Kish is a tinier island, very touristy, very retirementy, shall we say, very hot. And they accused Iran of building up drone armies in these places and attacking everybody from there, which I found quite funny, because it's just like Iran from key, like the southern Iranians are just, as I don't have any southern connections, but they're the laziest people. Like like the idea that they're building up to and fight, like for the last 600 years, the southern Iranians haven't been involved in any conflict, not even a goddamn brawl. like all the wars, all the conflicts is just northern Iranians and Turks, basically.
Man.
So the idea that they're building up anything but chillax.
When it comes to creativity, of accusations towards Iran, I give the Israelis a big 0, because I mean, the lack of creativity is a bit of an issue. Whether you go back to Netanyahu, from Netanyahu's like bomb pictures and whatnot that he was showing to all this, a bit more effort should be put into it, maybe.
I mean, it's possible that it's used for a storage place. I suppose only a storage place, but I'm sure nobody would even maybe just there's a guard. I don't know, but it was quite a good one. So that's been happening
ahead of the negotiations, as you mentioned, which are I think less than a week away from resuming in Vienna.
Yeah, I think it's on 29th of November they start, if I'm not mistaken. It had a 9th in it.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so that's from Middle East. On the more coming westward, in Europe, you had a sizable increase in COVID numbers and COVID infections, it seems. So there was significant lockdowns introduced in Netherlands, Germany, in Austria, and Germany and Netherlands are set to follow, if I'm not mistaken. And I found it quite the Heiko Maas, the German minister, came out and he came out a very harsh warning to Germans that in a couple of months, all Germans will be either vaccinated or dead or something like that, which was, Jesus Christ, it was like, wow. So, that was happening geopolitically there. You also had, I don't know if you remember. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. And I mean, I don't want to
move on.
No. Yeah. Sorry. I just want to mention one thing about the Austrian one too, right? I mean, not that it matters too much, but the Austrian government, okay, they're not like a far right-wing government, but they're still a right-wing government right now, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Pretty as close to far right as been getting.
So I mean, it was just
in Western Europe.
So some of these things that came out from them, that was a bit shocking, especially initially when they said that for 10 days, only the people who weren't vaxxed are going to be in lockdown. And then they extended it to everybody else. But yeah, it came from a more right-leaning government, which I think perhaps is interesting to bear in mind because of some other narratives that are associated sometimes to lockdowns.
Sure. Although I would say right-wing in Europe is different.
Yeah.
Right-wing, but, especially in Germany. German-speaking countries, not Germany. So, but what was I gonna pivot to? You had Michel Barnier apparently throwing his hat into French elections from the right, which I found quite fascinating as somebody who knew him through Brexit negotiations. And he was this guy who was like, Brexiteers, they are so hateful of we French. It's not nice. You're so racist. And now he's coming down on immigration. He's saying that he's going to pretty much suspend immigration for families of immediate families of immigrants for the next 6 years or something. And France may challenge EU courts authority and stuff. So that's fascinating. Shows his trustworthiness, I suppose. So we had that.
A lot of
there,
right-wing people running. I mean,
and
this
then-
is pretty interesting, the French elections. It's like, I mean, there's so many right-wing candidates.
It's moving to, yeah. I mean, I think because left, in my view, both in the US and in Europe, left has lost the moment. So it's literally, I mean, I hate historical, I hate publicly discussing historical analogies, but just like before World War One, I think they lost the moment, and now we're gonna have, we're gonna have far worse takeover. Anyways, in Africa, it's been a couple of bad weeks for me in terms of my idea of that protest and strikes don't work. Sudan military reinstated the PM Hamdok in a new deal following the protest. The protests were very successful. The protest and strikes, shopkeepers closed and all that, were very successful in Sudan, and the military authorities reinstated the Prime Minister Hamdok. An agreement will see Abdullah Hamdok return to lead a transitional government. Although some people are still suspicious, and there are articles that it's a first step, but it's not enough. Apparently, they haven't released everybody and everything. So, according to africanews.com, he's been reinstated and said on Monday that he will have the authority to form an independent government. So I thought, since we covered Sudan, it's only fair if I follow up. And this is just right in from a couple of hours ago, is that the Tigray conflict and the truce negotiation doesn't seem to be going well.
In Ethiopia.
There was in Ethiopia, UN, which country did I say?
You just didn't switch. You just you didn't just mention the country. I just wanted to be specific.
Oh, yeah.
If not, you just didn't say anything. You just went from Sudan to Tigray right away. That's all. Please continue otherwise.
Why should I? Why should I give any context? In Ethiopia, there were a couple of days ago, a UN representative went there to talk to mediated truce talks between Tigray forces approaching the capital and the central government forces. Doesn't seem to have gone well. A couple of hours ago, Muhammad Abiy just announced that he will vows to lead from the war front. So I assume it, he said that he used words like sacrifice, which implied the country's existence was at stake. So he's very much the civil war seems to be escalating, and negotiations from UN and others does not seem to have really worked. And that's a very negative development in many ways, because Ethiopia until 2 years ago was considered the hub of stability in the region.
Yeah, no, definitely. This conflict is continuing, and we actually did a longer video on this in last week's Progressive World episode. If anybody wants to go check that out, Aaron Mate had a guest, so we discussed what Aaron Mate and the guest discussed on the gray zone. But any other updates? I kind of wanted to put a hypothetical question to you, but I can't wait.
Go ahead. No, I wanted to then move on to two comedy news segments. So
I just want, I was just thinking of one, and this is hypothetical, and I don't like doing hypotheticals, but let's say some group of insurgents, whatever you want to call it, they attack a part of the government, right? And then the government attacks them back, right? But shouldn't the onus be more on the government and the military to not it doesn't make it okay if you're the government and you were attacked to attack by that with force again and just say, oh, we were attacked first, right? Shouldn't you as the government and the representative of the government not behave in such a way because you're the government and you're different than insurgency or whatever it is that you got attacked? Did my hypothetical make sense to you?
Sure. Yeah, but I think first of all, let's separate reality from an idealized hypothetical situation. In an idealized hypothetical situation, I kind of agree with you in that governments should go after them, and they should go after them very harshly, but they should have a judicial process instead of like they should try. Like I know it sounds, maybe it sounds naive, but I have always, one of the reasons I love Britain was the fact that growing up I knew the police didn't have guns, because the role of the police is not to kill you, it's to arrest you. And I still don't understand why police have guns when they can have all these electric shocker thingies and all that. I think police should not have lethal force, really. I think police should have
that's something
or
I'm kind of
government yeah but I do think when they do go after them, they should go after them like crazy, both judiciary and this is kind of what maybe this is a good place to talk about something I told you, like did you hear about the shaman thing, the shaman of the January 6th thing?
I don't know exactly what he got convicted for, but I know exactly who you're talking about and what event. So
I don't know he's a specific crime, but I think he got 3.5 years. And I saw this poll on Breaking Points or somewhere that is it fair or is it not? I think it's, to be honest, not fair. You should get more than 10. Like if you break into a government building, they should, they should make a goddamn example of you. If it's if we want a government that works, I believe in a government that has authority and that has power, that monopolizes power.
But the government shouldn't act in vengeance.
Judicial, not vengeance, judicial process. And government authority should be established as the supreme authority of the land in a very, very stark comparison to individuals and other communities or whatever. Judicial process, transparency and all that. And maybe it's naive and sort of my baggage from my liberal sort of background or whatever, but that's how it should be. But in reality, though, sometimes when you're doing a state building project, that's why I wanted to make the distinction between ideal type. When you're doing a state construct, like when you're building a state like out of factions or it's very hard sometimes. In reality, you have to make decisions.
I agree with that. And I hate talking in hypotheticals. It just reminds me of not Sam Sater, sorry. The other guy.
Sam Harris,
but okay, thank you for entertaining that. Let's move on to other stories. But I'm kind of referring to the Ethiopia one, to be completely honest, because the narrative is about how so the narrative is that, okay, the Tigrayans, for one reason or another, and there are a bunch of reasons, they attacked the government base, so like a military base, and then the government attacked. But I don't feel like,
sadly, I think I agree with they should have attacked them.
That the government should have attacked
full government force.
If it's needed and stuff, yes. I just view the actions of the government. I just think it should be thought so in a different way. But I don't think this is anything groundbreaking.
Look,
it's just that stating this sequence of actions isn't enough for me to justify who's at fault. When is the government involved?
You have a movement that is formed of the old guards of the ruling elite. They control significant portions of the military, and they have some separatist and some militaristically expansionist regarding Eritrea ambitions. If I was in the position of anybody in the central government, and if I would advocate for a quick and swift action as fast as possible to destroy them, if we have the capabilities. It seems that they didn't, and it backfired. So we'll see how it goes. But I completely understand that decision.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought a good element of reality again, once again, into this, and explaining like really who the Tigres are and the influence that they have and the power that they have. So yeah, so perhaps it's justified for government to act that way. But yeah, when I just hear like so you gave extra information there on why you think that it's okay for the government to attack back. Yeah, but just like the sequence of events, telling it in that way for me is not enough of a justification. But okay, brilliant. Continue.
Fair enough. All right, more to fun news. I mean, this is just great. This is from Daily Mail, one of the funniest news outlets. You know Daily Mail, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Funniest news outlet out there. Saudi Arabia unveils futuristic plan for a giant 8-sided floating port city called Oxagon, jutting into the Red Sea in a mega project run by robots and AI. I kept thinking it's gonna finish. This title, this headline is gonna finish. It's a giant city. It's floating. Yeah. It's 8-sided.
Yeah, what's up with that?
And it's gonna be run by AI and robots. And it's gonna be called Oxagon. I don't know. Is Oxagon a shape in geometry? I don't know.
I believe it refers to a shape that has 8 sides. I'm guessing. Yeah.
All right.
I always get them confused.
Oh my God. Proposed construction jutting into the Red Sea has been called Oxagon and said to be built on edge of Neom. And let's get to Neom. Neom is a new city region being designed by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for $500 billion. I believe Neom is the one that is supposed to glow at night, and the only way it's supposed to glow is radioactive material. By the way, this is all probably bullshit. I don't know. Do you think this is gonna happen?
No, I mean, based on what I know, like things that come out of that region, sometimes their plans, like 2 out of 10 happen. 2 out of 10 happen, kind of. So
that's a
is this one of the 80% or the 20%? And sometimes the promise is something crazy, but it's just something much smaller. It's delivered.
Like Saudi Arabia is so big, and there are so few cities, right?
Yeah.
Why would you build a floating city on the Red Sea? Why not just? I don't get it.
Unless you want to use that to give different kind of legislative and jurisdiction to that area by doing that, because there are some loopholes that governments sometimes try to.
Everyone
does it around the world.
Yeah. In Dubai, they were planning to build an underwater casino to get away from like Islamic rules, which was just like, God can't snorkel, can you? I don't have to. Have you seen God snorkeling?
or other things like as simply as having different tax laws and all that.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's, by the way, that is that is Islam, because in Islam, that's why Islamic banking is basically like this sort of a facade of just names and bullshit, because in Islam, interests, just like Christianity originally, you're not allowed to charge interest.
Usury.
Usury. Yeah, exactly. I like to add that officials claim it will be a net zero city, will be powered entirely by clean energy, but have yet to be revealed how much of it will cost or how they would build the world's biggest floating structure. So, it will be green, but just we don't know how or when or based on what technology. So,
I mean, the Saudis, they seem like in general seem like they've recovered from the COVID period and all this, and they're going kind of on an offensive of both image globally and also more, more influence based on two things. I'm saying them. One is they're asking companies to relocate their headquarters, their Middle East headquarters into Saudi Arabia. That's one.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but in the summer, there were all these rumors of Saudi Arabia now also buying a football team in England, Newcastle.
Yeah, they bought it.
They finally. I still don't know exactly how close. I haven't looked into how close it's related to the Saudi family or government, but it seems like it is very much. So yeah, they've done that. So I think they've recovered a bit from the COVID and going on a bit of an offensive of, not offensive. I don't want to say it that way, but yeah, spending more money. Yeah, PR, both PR and also things in reality. I would assume, like relocating headquarters in Saudi
building
Arabia.
Floating city.
Yeah.
No, I would say that I just wish they focused more on science fiction writing rather than building projects, because I think there will be, like, Mohammed bin Salman's talent is wasted as a crown prince. This is a guy who should have worked for Weird magazine in 1960s or Amazing Tales or something like that. And like maybe at like Ron Hubbard style, he would have come up with Scientology or something at some point. But what a shame. What a shame. You can't wait for the floating city though.
Yeah, we shall see.
Now, a funniest story from the heartland of the empire. I thought it's a bit of a follow-up. I don't know if you recall, there was a university we discussed, which was what was it about? Tell me.
University of the Houston one? No, what's it called?
Austin,
yeah.
You got the same state. Houston is in Texas, right?
Yeah. It's the capital of Texas, I believe. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So, two top advisors resigns from.
No, already no. I refuse. Stop.
But no, wait. Robert Zimmer and Steven Pinker.
A bit too soon. Man. Drag it on a bit. They should get Elizabeth Holmes involved in this. She could have dragged this much further. Come on.
I mean, she's got legal troubles at it. But I love that. Steven Pinker. I think that's
who are the two?
Robert, Steven Pinker and Robert Zimmer, who I believed was, I think Robert Zimmer was from the Chancellor of University of Chicago. So one of two of the most major I can't wait for Neil Ferguson to sort of back. But Steven Pinker is the one of these people who I mentioned. He went to a couple of meetings with Epstein as well. I think he's just smart enough to know when he got involved too much with Epstein and this one. But anyways, it was so funny, man. They're already collapsing.
Man, what's the name of the lady who's spearheading this project?
Oh, Barry Weiss.
Yeah. So my bet was that, they might give...
sorry, Barry Weiss. Do you watch SNL ever?
No.
Did you watch Ghostbusters, the one with the ladies?
No, but I know what you're referring to.
Not because they were there. Kate McKinnon. Kate McKinnon or whatever, the lady who she's the SNL guest. She's the SNL cast that plays Hillary Clinton.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah,
she was Barry Weiss was her girlfriend. I could not believe that. Jesus goddamn Christ. Wow.
Yeah. No,
she's a conservative lesbian. That's her whole shtick.
Yeah. That makes you great. And I mean, my bet was that they're gonna have this bullshit summer program and steal some money of people, but that'll be it. There's no way they're gonna get licensed or anything any go further than that. But maybe they won't even make it that far.
No, I think they'll have some. I think maybe master class. They do some content. They email you some videos or something. I don't know. Malcolm Gladwell, you know him?
No.
1,000 hours practice guy.
Oh, okay.
Liberal. Yeah, like if Beatles. And he's still he's probably the biggest name behind it for now.
No, but they had some other big shady name. Isn't Larry Summers part of it too?
Yeah, but I mean, Larry Summers in terms of credibility.
No, of course.
I would say Malcolm Gladwell has more. At least you can say Malcolm Gladwell has had. I mean, to be honest, I think he's just the attention seeker, but sometimes he does it in a positive way, supporting Medicare or something. Larry Summers is just a fucking lizard. I don't know.
But I mean, I think if they want to get through with this project, it's very easy. I mean, Elizabeth Holmes' verdict is probably going to happen by the end of the year. So if I
Just
was
love that
them,
you,
if I
your
was
whole
them,
world revolves around it.
I would just get her quickly and she'll get this project going well. I mean, she couldn't like will into reality a new medical device, but I'm sure this will be no problem for her. She'll get this going in a few years with a lot of money.
She's like Kingpin in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
She could manage the whole fucking empire from the prison. Like, you know, I can imagine her in what was it, Casino, was it, or Goodfellas, where they have like their own cooks and chefs inside the prison.
Yeah, so I think maybe she's hope for them, you know, to revive this project.
I don't think she's right wing enough for. She was more Silicon Valley type. Barry Weiss and stuff. They're more right wing.
True, but maybe she's getting in. Yeah, maybe she'll get into that later on. But yeah. But damn, man, and their whole like press release in advance had all these excuses built in it. You know, people won't want us to succeed and stuff. Well, so far, no one is stopping you. You're just losing. Seems like you already lost 2 people.
No,
the other ones too. Like I already told you, I'm sure the people she got signatures from and involvement, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm pretty convinced that they have no idea who else was part of the project and whatnot. I'm sure.
No, and it's just the fucking kahunas in these people that, you know, before even getting accredited, they're like, yeah, come pay money to us for what? For what?
Yeah.
Universities to get degrees so you can get a job. There's nothing else to this, you know. And
exactly, if it's just like controversial stuff that you're going to talk about, well, people can just watch that on YouTube, you know. If you're going to put a degree behind that controversial stuff, sure. But
the forbidden thoughts and studies. This is goddamn, you know. It's like, just when I was a kid, I was fascinated by religious and all that, and they had all these secret orders and all that. And then after a while, you find out, oh, it's all bullshit. They made it secret to make it sound cool. It's like, what's his name? You know, J.J. Abrams?
Yeah.
The producer, he has this theory that every movie is a box. It's a mystery box, yeah? And it's basically the old MacGuffin thing that Hitchcock and stuff would talk about, that you have a mystery that audience sort of wants to figure out. So that's, but you know, like it's just the whole thing is just a box. There is nothing inside of it. It's just, there is no forbidden knowledge. It's all bullshit. It's all marketing to make it seem cool. God damn. Yeah, I hate these people. But I mean, because I still have a residue of respect for Steven Pinker's linguistic work. So, you know, I was a bit happy.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay, nice. Brilliant. And any other stories to talk about or touch on?
Oh, no, I'm done with my comedy geopolitical brief.
All right, Sam, let's move on to our last segment for today, progressive tweets. And yeah, so before we get into the tweets itself, you wanted to talk about a little bit about the background of the word progressive, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll do that and then get into the tweets. And right before that, if you've made it this far in the podcast and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. But yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Sure. Because we always discuss that we like the word progressive and why we like it. So I took a sort of a look into it, and I was ashamed not to know that. I was ashamed not to know its connections with something. So progressive originally comes from the writings of, I believe, Immanuel Kant and John Locke and that type of thing. But but the modern progressive political philosophy is really starts in the US at the crossing of at the beginning of the 20th century. And the most two prominent figures of them are Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson, among others. And you even had a progressive party set up in the UK by Theodore Roosevelt after he couldn't get the nominations.
In the UK?
Nomination. No, in the US. Did I say UK?
Yeah, maybe I misheard. My bad. Anyway.
Yeah, in the United States. Sorry to clarify. And I don't know. Do you know about Theodore Roosevelt much?
Not more than the average person. A little bit, but yeah.
No, it's not FDR though.
Yeah.
It's not,
like just a little bit I've heard, but no.
He's a hunky guy with the pictures of guns and stuff. He is, to be honest, I did it among American presidents. He's always been my sort of favorite, even though I disagree with most of his policies. As a character, he's been like the most fun. I found that progressive in terms of political definition in the US was basically this middle class movement that came out of the Gilded Age. That was a reaction that this uncontrolled capital should be regulated based on meritocracy. Theodore Roosevelt was a huge social Darwinist, sadly to a racist extent. So that's the root of progressive. Jesus Christ, can you say it?
The word progressivism. Yeah.
Progressivism. But I would like to say that the reason why I like Theodore Roosevelt, and when I was reading about progressivism, I still thought that maybe we can use this word without being hypocrites too much, was that, I like the idea that they were very much active. They didn't there was two images or visions for the future of US. One was this village at top of the hill that all the other nations would aspire to, and one was one Theodore Roosevelt had in mind, which was in many ways more imperialistic, which might piss some people off on the left, which was, no, we have to be involved, we have to, like Philippines in intervention and takeover was pretty much his initiative.
Yeah, it was before he became president, if I'm not mistaken, no? Or while he was president. Anyway.
He was, I think he was a Secretary of State, and he pretty much, who was his president? McKinley was, I think McKinley was president, or he
I really don't know.
there is this famous anecdote that he apparently went behind the president and would say that he had a spine like chocolate eclair, just to sort of poke him into intervening in Philippines and all that. So and in a way, maybe that's why I always had affinity for Christopher Hitchens and all that type of thing. Like I always side on the more active side than like this sort of, although I admit that most of the time when you're active, you tend to fuck up like the Iraq war and all that. So, I read up on our because you always have this discussion about what is progressive, what does it even mean, where does it come from, blah, blah, blah. But I just, I don't obviously agree with most of the views of Theodore Roosevelt or anything, but I do like the disposition of being active and trying to goddamn fucking change the world rather than just, even though I am very pessimist and cynic. But it's cyclical, and we have to, in the cycle, we have to play our role, even if, it's cyclical, whatever. I don't know. Sorry about ruining your progressive tweets.
No, not at all. It's you are right, and we always talk about where does the word come from, and we like it because I like it at least because kind of sounds like progress, progressivism, progressive, kind of hints at ever like improving, kind of in my head. At least that is the associations that I have.
And this idea that we have to move forward, whatever.
But
although I know there are some negative aspects to that with focusing on growth as only I don't mean growth as the only way to move forward.
Okay. All right. Nice stuff. Yeah, it was perfect time to talk about it because
I feel
we're
like
talking about
such a
progressive tweets.
goddamn
Why?
pretentious douchebag, but yeah, go ahead.
Why? No, I mean we should have looked into the history of the word more when we branded our entire podcast
No,
after that or referred to it.
yeah, just I feel like fuck. Anyway, sorry, I hate myself. Go ahead.
Why? All right.
Just, yeah.
But
Let's
okay.
take a look at.
Let's look at a few tweets here.
Sure.
So Bernie put some, yeah, this figure is this is pretty crazy. You ready for radical statement? Here we go. Radical fact. An asthma inhaler that is sold to the Canadian people for just $27 should not cost the American people $242 for the exact same inhaler. So I don't know if he means like that what costs like the government and then you get it with your insurance, or if you show up that inhaler has such a big difference in price, but pretty crazy.
I think, to be honest, I must say he's wrong.
You think so? Based on which aspect?
Based on the fact that Canadian people seem to have made better decisions when they elected their democratic leaders, and based on the fact that I still have a bit of it, to be honest. I still regard Americans as those rebel scum. So, maybe they shouldn't have, gone for the revolutionary wars. Because some, land speculators like George Washington wanted to expand westwards. So, you live with, I'm sorry, let me make it clear. I really apologize to anybody suffering from asthma. I don't want to minimize. I don't think people who are born now are any way or any shape or any form guilty for the past mistakes of their ancestors or anything. But I just wanted to say that there is an explanation for this. It doesn't come out of nowhere. And I apologize if I came out in the beginning. I feel, I did came out like a dick. So fair enough. But
I didn't understand why you would say you disagreed with Bernie, because he doesn't refer to that. He just points out the fact that, the same product seems to cost 10 times more in the US.
He says it should not. That's why it's not justified. It's not justified, but maybe it should, because of if you look at the historical trends. I see. Again, anybody suffering from any health problems should, in my view, be anyone who's not a criminal or whatever, psycho, I don't know, but should get free healthcare, everything. But it's just annoying when they just, anyway, I don't like.
But I mean, from his point of view, it should not go. I mean, I don't know. I get a little bit what you're saying. So like you're explaining why you're trying to explain why it costs this much. But Bernie's saying that,
it's not. It's not justified. It should, because it's happening.
But I mean, you can change it. It doesn't have to. I mean, despite the history and everything, whatever it is, it could change it. It would not.
I'm being annoying about the word.
No worries. But I mean, he makes these kind of statements all the time. But just like the price difference put in here for something like that, I found that interesting in the tweet. Let's move on to Richard Wolff, unless you had anything else to say about Bernie.
No.
Richard Wolff.
I apologize if anyway.
When some are rich and others are poor, life is unjust. Children of the rich have more advantages, resources, supports than children of the poor. The accident of birth rules. Justice requires equality. It always did. So, I mean, two things about this tweet. Okay.
Sure.
The accident of birth and all this. Yeah, I'm with you there. You don't get to choose what family you get in, and some people are born in families in places where you have more advantages than others. But this, he kind of has a dichotomy between when some are rich and others poor. Life is unjust. And I just find it to be a bit too much of a caricature to divide life into just these two categories, because there's a whole spectrum of different advantages and people fall different parts of social class and different amount of richness and poorness. So I just found his tweet to be a bit too too simplistic, kind of just dividing it into rich and poor, like as if you're rich or poor. So I didn't really love
No,
this tweet of
it's
his.
interesting because I felt the same, but not in that way. I felt it in a way that, for example, I don't actually. I think race, gender, and sexual orientation are extremely overplayed in terms of the effect they have, in my view. What is not discussed at all is nationalism or citizenship. Because like, you know, for example, I can consider a lot of poor people in a lot of countries that are far better off than a lot of rich people even in other countries because of
that's exactly what I was referring to. Exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, part of that too. It's just not that simplistic between being rich and poor.
Yes. Yeah. But I would like to point out that personally, I don't think racial, gender, and sexual orientation are that big of a factor. I wouldn't even, the case by case basis, it differs, obviously. And in the US, I think racial issues are slightly bigger. In Islamic societies, I think gender issues are slightly bigger. But overall, I think the main thing is money and a nationalship, citizenship of a specific nation.
Yeah, those are important as well. I mean, I'm glad that you kind of nuanced your answer a bit because I agree with you there. And
I hope so.
In some cases, like in some countries, let's put the US aside a little bit. Yeah, race and stuff play a little bit less of a role. And yeah, there are these other. This is kind of what I was referring to. Like he says, children of the rich have more advantages, resources, support than children of the poor. Maybe fine. Okay, fine. If you take just one country and you put it there, that is the case. But if you look at it globally, that is not the case. Because yeah, exactly. I mean, you can be, let's take a perfect example. If you're in a Scandinavian country, you can be quite poor, but have like a lot of advantages compared to someone
middle class.
Yeah, compared to someone far richer in a different country. Yeah.
A middle class person in Scandinavia is far better than super rich person in Dubai. And I truly mean that. Maybe momentarily the person in Dubai would be better off in terms of, okay, I have a swimming pool on my fucking roof or something. But the stability of like my children's future, my health care, my all of that, you know, I would categorize, again, it's somewhat subjective, but I would categorize the middle class Scandinavian person as better off personally, again, subjectively.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, and like, you know, what you have access, like, I mean, you know, for instance, I mean, this is kind of like, I mean, this is a materialistic thing, but like I remember like in the beginning when like an iPhone came out or something, it's a bit of a materialistic example, but you had to be quite well off in, let's say, Middle Eastern or developing countries to have the iPhone, whereas in a developed country it was just much more frequent. People from a much lower socioeconomic background could get their hands on this product. So it's an example. And then also where you're born when it has to do with passports and all this. I mean, these are huge advantages that kind of go beyond poor and rich. So I think his tweets really falls apart in a global context.
Exactly. And I would say, I mean, we went to different universities, universities in different continents. But that's, exactly. In Europe, for example, the difference between rich and poor in terms of looks is almost non-existent. Like, while in the Middle East, like, because you have to pay cash for everything, you can tell, okay, this guy is working class, this guy is middle class. But in Europe, it's almost impossible. I don't know so much in North America.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, you can say, okay, fine, if someone's like an aristocrat, and then someone is like, and someone is like extremely low. You're right. Yeah, right. And then there's difference. But like in that kind of middle, in that middle ground, things blend much more. When you move past the extremes. But
All right. No.
okay, let's move on.
Next.
Glenn, let's come back to Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse, not free of all criminal liability, did his interview and said he believes systematic racism is a problem in the US and supports Black Lives Matter. If you think this caused anyone to reevaluate their decree that he's a white supremacist, you'd be incorrect. And I even forgot, I wasn't even concerned with the tweet below that. It was just the Black Lives Matter part was interesting. But yeah, the person before had tweeted that Kyle seemed like the kind of moderate voter who fears being called racist above all else and would be on the left side on most things if they tone down the open pro-right stuff. Kyle seems like the kind of man who fears being called racist and would be on the left side.
That doesn't sound too bad by the Richard Hanna.
Yeah.
It sounds actually he's correct in his description in my view. He just doesn't, like, he's a young kid who has some views, who it seems, I believe he expressed some support for police. So like he's probably some, like, you know, he's a young kid who likes authority, likes police, who likes safety. And yeah, he would be on the left on most things if they tone down the openly pro-riot stuff. So I don't see why Glenn is saying.
Yeah, I don't even know about that. I was just interested in, like, in that interview. He does it with Tucker Carlson, and in it he says, yeah, like, I support the Black Lives Matter.
But I would say
apparently
there is that true though. I saw that on the TYT thing, so maybe it's not true. But John Iadarola, he said that he had done interviews, which he said he likes to kill people and all that.
Yeah, I heard him say that too.
You know if it's true?
Yeah, no, I mean, based on what I've seen, I've heard some, so I don't know.
Look, I don't give a shit what the 17-year-old thought or
that's exactly.
I mean, that's he can fuck off. Like, to be honest, I do think Glenn is doing like he's blowing this out of proportion as well with his video and this. Like, who gives it? Like, he may have been racist. He may have not been racist. This case has nothing to do with race.
Yeah,
he was attacked by 3 white people. I just fuck. Anyways, I don't give a shit.
You're right about that. So let's move on.
Constantly wanna attack. These guys that I hate did something wrong.
Yeah,
who gives a shit.
So Sam, the next tweet. Okay, so his name is Ladarola. So this tweet goes well with the next tweet.
Ladarola or Idarola? Idarola.
Oh, true. That's an I.
Beginning.
Yeah, Lord, my bad. John Idarola. Even when I read his name, I still can't get it right. Okay, but this tweet comes with the next one, and the next one's really funny. So he wrote, anyone else feel like the news has been even more unbearable than usual the past month or so? Just a shitty ass comment. Yeah, exactly. And then people
wrote... Why does he say that? The next one is what people wrote. Sorry.
No, yeah. Why does he say that? I don't know. You have to ask John why he thinks that. And people wrote, no, since the 80s, I've concluded that the degree of outrage one feels is directly related to how closely it's following the news at the time. So maybe that's why, John. And someone else wrote that farmers getting what they protest for news in India has been beautiful. So every politician news is unbearable. So yeah, I mean, John is just like, he feels that way, I guess, because he's fallen on kind of the wrong side of this issue. So maybe he finds it that way on the Kyle Rittenhouse or something. Yeah. I'm guessing that way. But it's like a very like childish kind of news. And it kind of reminds me of someone who like doesn't watch news. And I'm sure he has to watch some news. He's a commentator, but someone who doesn't watch any news, and then there's an issue that happens that close to them, and then they're like obsessed with that news story, and then they bring like general like kind of, you know, observations like the world is going to shit and the news is so bad right now, or this and that. I'm like, no, you just like, you know, you right now got attached to this, so you feel like it's this way. But I'm sure John watches some news every now and then.
Man, I mean, look, I don't want to like, he's somebody who's worked far longer than we have in this industry. I have some respect for these people because of seniority. I know, again, sounds stupid, but I do have, like, he has far more experience than I have. He has done actual productions that I haven't done. It's just I think he's anyway. But I do think Nikki Nov.
Yeah.
That's the key. Since the 80s, I've concluded the degree of outrage one feels is directly related to how closely he's following the
100%.
news at any time. And it's 100% true. You don't follow the news for 3 days, you forget about a lot of things. And I feel like if please only follow the news and this type of show if you find it fun. I follow politics because I find it fun in some sick, masochistic way or something.
Well, there's a term, political junkie, and I'm pretty sure most people who watch this show, and including me, were all like that.
Yeah, don't watch it if you think you can change anything or if you have hope for humanity or anything like that. So, yeah, the outrage is just, because,
I think that guy explains it perfectly.
Yeah.
And
just and the Indian thing is good. I think she's highlighting you can focus on different pieces.
So it's just like it's an extremely subjective observation that he's made, that if it just comes from a normal person, like okay, but him who's in like the kind of news business,
it's somewhat less acceptable.
But all right, Sam, let's wrap up with the last tweet.
Last of the tweets.
Yeah, the last tweet. So I've been following the Elizabeth Holmes stuff myself. I'm making the videos myself because you're not as much into it. But yeah, I mean, the whole time people were talking about, is Elizabeth Holmes actually going to take the witness stand? Law experts were saying you wouldn't want to put her on the stand because
she's
taking
the witness.
Yeah, and she already took, and you don't want to put that because then you can get cross-examinated. But knowing everything I've heard about this girl, I was like, this girl is confident that she can go and in like a few sessions change the juror's mind. And so Elizabeth Holmes returned to the witness stand Monday in federal court in San Jose, California, where she took the courtroom by surprise late last week. So last Friday, she went on and her defense team questioned her, and she tried to give her side and everything. And I believe she did the same on Monday, but starting Tuesday and next week, I believe now the prosecutors will get a chance to, cross-examine her and get some things out of it. But if anybody would do it, is this girl, man. And she has convinced so many people with her stories. I'm not surprised that she has this kind of confidence that she'll be like, hey, let me take on these jurors and also change their minds.
No, I'm not surprised by her confidence. I'm surprised by her legal team based on my knowledge from Boston legal and the practice, my extensive legal research into the American US system. You never put a goddamn witness on a witness stand because they are goddamn unreliable and it's like they can get you so easily. You never agree to an interview with the FBI or police, and you never take the goddamn witness stand. You never do these things. That's what everyone is saying. 101.
But that's like 101. If someone's gonna do it, it's her.
And do you know her? So it's already happened. So what? If there's any reactions or?
So I'm sure the Dropout podcast, which kind of attended, it's because I read a few news stories, and the news stories just said, that she's done this.
All right.
But she hasn't been cross-examined yet anyway. That should be happening on Tuesday or next week. So the juicy stuff for to come out. But also based on what I've been following and listening, I don't think the trial is going her way. So it seems like, based on the evidence that is being shown, I don't think the trial is going too much her way. I mean, my guess is she is going to be, I think, found guilty. Maybe not for not 20 years, because she's facing 20 years in prison. I think that's like the maximum.
You can go 20 years in prison for defrauding.
Yeah, if you ask me, it's too much.
It's like debtor's prison.
Yeah, I believe it's 20 years that she could possibly be facing.
And the shaman guy is going 3.5. Jesus.
So I mean, it could be that they're just thinking we don't have too much to lose, but I'm guessing if it was going really well and it seemed like they're going to win, they wouldn't have taken this risk. But again, with this girl and the skills that she has and the confidence that she has. If you're ever gonna do it with someone, it's her.
Yeah, I look forward to reading about her
Yeah, and
her answers.
Yeah, because based on what I've been hearing, it doesn't seem like they're close to, and the government side wants to kind of wrap it up as quickly as possible.
I didn't know she could go to jail for 20 years.
I believe it's 20 years.
Financial.
Yeah. Just check quickly, so I'm not talking crap. 20 years.
By the way, while Camille is checking, I'd like to say my legal expertise also come from the show called Damages. Everybody should check it out. Glenn Close, Rose Byrne, best legal show ever. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I found it. According to New York Times, Holmes has been charged with 11 counts of fraud and faces up to 20 years in prison on each count. Jesus.
On each count means
I don't even know what that means. So I doubt that's going to happen. But she has pleaded not guilty. Whether Holmes would testify had been one of the biggest questions of the trial. Up until Friday afternoon, many legal experts predicted that she wouldn't. But as an Elizabeth Holmes story junkie, they should have asked my opinion. I would have been like, no. Have you guys heard what this girl was going around?
Oh, she'll do it, man.
She collected hundreds of millions. She got hundreds of millions of people in her 20s. I'm pretty sure she thinks convincing a few jurors shouldn't be impossible for her.
Yeah, but I guess the client can overrule their lawyer, right? Because I can't imagine her lawyer okayed this.
Again, I'm saying, what if the lawyers thought that, this is not going too well. You're probably going to be found guilty on some things. So let's just put you up there. All this bad stuff has come out anyway. So what more can they ask you? And given your skill levels and all that, you might be able to, say what you want and so what you want.
No, but I know.
I don't know. That's why all legal experts are saying that. Yeah.
You said there are more than 20 charges.
11 counts of fraud.
11 counts, sorry. So I would think lawyers also think about all the details of, okay, maybe we can't get her off on this count, but I don't know. I just assume anyway.
Everybody was saying the same thing as you. They were like, there's no way they're going to do it.
Probably overruled them. That's the only... I can't think of any lawyer agreeing. And this idiot, by the way, I've listened to a couple of episodes of this podcast. It's just this... I mean, maybe she's sympathetic. I don't
know. Which idiot?
Elizabeth Holmes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, she fooled a lot of other idiots, but she's I'm Kermit the Frog and I want to invest in blood test.
I wonder what voice she's using. If she's sticking, I'm guessing she is.
No, she's. Oh wow, my computer. I think she's gone for soft Kermit now.
I don't know because they've already played in court.
Kermit.
I doubt they can't do that because in court they've already played sound bites of her. So I think it would look bad if now she comes out with a different voice. She's gonna have to stick to it.
No, but that's the harsh conditions of the prison.
Well, I don't. But I mean. I'm not surprised that this is happening, but let's see how it goes. I hope a never-ending source of entertainment for me. I need to thank her again for taking the stand. So I actually want to thank her once again for adding more fun and twists. She's like, no, you guys are having too much fun. Watch this. Put me up there.
You really need to look into NFTs. What are they?
Yeah, of course.
It's just just that whole industry is like Elizabeth Holmes. So I think you love that.
That's the thing, man. If she would have went for something simpler, she would have made more money by now.
You're right.
She was a kid. She was a 19-year-old. So when she started all this, I mean, Someone should have been
Yeah,
like,
that was a mistake. Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
do you want to sell car insurance? I think that's I think that easier. Do something else. Let's come up with something else.
Again, I double down on my position. She should have gone down the group road. You know, just sell some stones that give you a nice energy.
Well, a victim of her own, I guess, young age.
Overambitious.
Overambitious, yeah. Overambitious and
Bill Gates.
skills. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, God. Anyways.
But yeah, okay. All right. That's it for this episode. Please like and subscribe, share your comments, thoughts, criticisms, everything down below. We'll make sure to get to them. If not, thank you for watching and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.